was I talking about? I was talking about not as exciting, but you know, I guess you could think it is. It's we're talking about package.json. All right, so we do have this file here, so we need to know a little bit about it. I'm going to go through the different keys. Try not to read all of it, but just so you know, because you're going to look at this package.json quite a bit, you might as well know what the purpose of it is and what the keys and those things mean, because it is quite important, and you'll constantly be asking or not asking or be asked about this file, especially if you're doing Node.js work. So this file is the core to the ecosystem of Node. It's a basic part of understanding and working in Node, NPM, and even modern JavaScript. You need this package.json. What it equates to is a manifest. The manifest about that application, the modules, the packages, and more. It's a tool that's used to make modern development streamlined, modular, and efficient. So keyword is manifest. You're going to hear that quite a bit. And sometimes that manifest talks for you, right? It basically gives a lot of key information to some maybe other developer 5 years from now. It joins the team when you're long gone. You can take that and replicate the project that you worked on in his local environment, and it gets very big. It gets huge, actually. The more people that work on it. So developer in this ecosystem understands the basic of this package, and it's just really one of the first steps to really kicking off your development. Yes, so it's really key to understand how this works, because it's really essential to the basics. I have to read all this here, but basically you're going to need to use it effectively. The first key is obviously the name. So this is the name property in the package.json. It's the one fundamental component of the package.json structure. At its core, the name is a string, exactly what you would expect, the name of the module that the package.json is describing. So in this example here, the name is the metaverse, right? So the name would look like that. So if we looked at our generated package.json, the name would be the demo, right? So we're going to go through all these keys. The name is the demo because that is the name of my folder structure when I did the npm and init. It generated. Now that can be changed, right? It's the name of, you might be working on, I don't know, it could be credit card application. So you might have a name for that credit card application. It could be like, I don't even know what it could be, you know, Shopaholics or something like that, right? That'd be the name of your application would be Shopaholics. So this would be the name of the project, right? So that's the name property, descriptive of the application of what you're trying to describe, the main entry point of that package.json. So the version obviously is also very key. Denotes the current version of the module the package is describing. So inside of this, you're going to have a string in the Semver. Now we're going to talk about what that means. That means semantic versioning will look like that. So again, back to our original one is 1.1, first version. As we're incrementing this, whether we do it manually or we have some tool that manages our file just to increment releases, that is the description of that file. So we know that it's not. So we know if we take a package.json from 5 years ago or 1 year ago or 1 month ago and something that's deployed in production, we'll know that it's an older version of the application, right? Based on that version number. Hey, that's version 1. We're on version 5 now, so there's no reason to look at that. We can discard it or leave it in our repository or whatnot. I'll show you. I don't know if I'm logged in, but I have to show you one day what the package.json I have at work looks like. So it's the version description. As you can tell, did I misspell that? No, I didn't. Description. Oh, I guess I didn't. It just looks weird. So that property is what it says. It's a human readable description about the module. Basically tells the developer, you know, it's good documentation to let them know what exactly this module does, right? This is I told you your code tells a story, but also comments where applicable, where you don't want to comment everything. You want to comment the most important pieces of the application where needed. and not trivial. So this would be something you would definitely describe. So it's used because frequently indexed by search tools like npm search, right, and the npm CLI. It will help them with relevant package information. So if you were publishing your package, this would tell the registry, not just other developers, right, just the registry, what the package is about. It'll scan it, right, and it'll pull it out inside of the registry to describe it. So here for the metaverse, it describes the metaverse. Where did I come up with this stuff? The final outcome of all virtual worlds, augmented reality, and the internet. I don't know if they're talking about Spider-Man there, but yeah, the metaverse, Spider-Verse. So keywords. So keywords, again, if we go back, and if you notice here, the keywords I have here is empty. This will help. And if you actually pretty cool, you have IntelliSense, it'll help you with what some of this stuff, right? So the keyword is helps people discover your package as it's listed in npm search. Okay, cool. So this is geared towards if you're publishing your own package, you know, you can, those search keywords that I did, like hacking, and it came in through hack tools, right, would help them find it in the npm search, the author who created it, the license for your package, right? So these kind of things are important. Again, we're talking about the publishing of your package. So keywords, as you guessed, keywords help identify the package for if it's related to software, if it's related to utilities. It's an array of strings. So basically, again, metaverse, virtual reality, snow crash. How is that? I have no idea how that's relevant, but anyways, that's an odd keyword there. All right, main property. Some of this stuff is reviewed needs, right? The main property is is a direction to the entry point to the module. Okay, cool. So, right, that makes sense. The main app.js is normally what if you especially have React, it'll be a certain file that's the main entry point. If you look back 2 hours, it just had one JavaScript file there. So it just said, okay, well, there's only one file. So therefore that must be the entry point. So hello.js is the main entry point to our package. You can certainly change this as you go. This was just the initialization of it, right? So in a node application in the module, so if you're, again, if we're talking about the package here, right? If you're building a moment.js, this would be where the main module that would be required. So I'm sure inside of, if we look at the moment, let's look at that. So if we did install moment, right? And inside of moment, so that's a package in itself. It has a license, it has its own README and its own package.json. Let's look at that. That's probably a lot better. And you can see how big it is. Look at that. It's about 100 and that's not that big. 106 lines. Has a whole bunch of other information in there, but where is the one that's the problem with this. Here, let's see. Where is the main? Main. There you go. Main. So main is moment.js. So it's the main entry point. So if we go to use our require, which is import, we're going to import. This is where it's going to go to. It's going to, when you import the moment library, it's going to pull from the moment.js. That is the entry point library, and then all its dependencies in. So for that package, that's why, sorry, going back to that, that's where it is. And you can see it's a lot more descriptive. There's a lot more stuff going on here. Keywords. Okay, so here's a better example. Keywords, moment, date, time, parse, all this stuff. That would be on NPM registry that we would search. I'm sure the description is probably a lot better than ours about the metaverse. Description. Parse, validate, manipulate, display date. Sounds good to me. That's pretty good. Okay, so those are self-explanatory. The main portion of the main entry point of the application. Repository. So this is an array where the source code lives. So if it's on Git, basically it'll let you know where it is. If it's open source, again, we're talking about the package itself. You may not need to do this for, you probably wouldn't need to do this for a dev team or something like that. It depends on the team, how well they want to document it. But yeah, so that would be where this metaverse Git library lives. I'm sure Moment has a link to its real Git repository. So scripts, so these are interesting. So these are really cool. You can actually, inside of the package.json, you can create your own scripts here. So for instance, so if you had a mean stack application where I told you previously, you may need to kick off a Node.js server on a certain port, and you may to kick off a React application on a certain port. You don't want to have to keep going from one terminal window, kickstart it manually, and then go to the other terminal window and kickstart the React one. So you can create a script here where you can just say, you know, run application, and it'll, and in one line you can actually stack or chain those commands, and it'll kick off those two ports for you. It'll launch those two things for you. You could do that. So you can actually create some little scripts in here, like you commonly, if you're doing some unit testing, you could do like a test keyword here, and you would have it run some other library. So you can actually build some developer scripts in there for you if you want to. So I think out of the box, it had a couple. Where was it here in our basic one here? So it has, okay, so there you go. So there's a test script there. So let's see if I believe if it's test. So if I use npm, it says npm run tests. npm run tests. No, I'm npm test. I forget exactly how to run it, to be honest. I'll look for that in a second. But when I run it, it's something really trivial. It's something extremely trivial, like npm run. I forget. There's some command or some flag. But anyhow, the point is, it'll run that for you, right? So I'll look it up in a second. But it'll hit this script. So when you give it the keyword test, run by the npm test command. So I'm not entirely sure why it didn't do that for me. It's telling me npm test. So it did it. I'm sorry. It did it right there. So the point was, it did it. I just saw this error and I thought there was a problem. So what this thing would do is say echo out to the console, error, no test specified. Okay, so it was doing what expected, and exit with a 1. So you can see it echoed, no test specified. So it's giving me an error that's saying, okay, you don't have any tests here, so we fail. There's an error. So actually, it did work as expected. So if you notice that, npm test, if you hover over that, I'll say run it with that command. So run scripts. So you can build up your own scripts on the command line. So instead of typing all that out, you can quickly run it with a keyword. So pretty cool. And you can build those out, especially like in the situation where you have to start two servers at the same time. You don't want to keep doing that all the time. It's best to, think of what you could run test scripts or, logging, debugging tools, things like that. All right, dev dependencies, as we already talked, these dependencies basically let other modules know that this module uses these type of dependencies, that these are needed. So the dependency properties takes this object, the name and version. So this is the name. The name would be async. This is the version, the semantic versioning, which we'll get into. So this ties things back to the version properly we defined earlier, that version. You need to denote here these carets and these tildes. These mean something, and they get a little tricky. That's what the semantic versioning that we will get into explains what those mean. Stay tuned. Dev dependencies, as we already talked about, this would be something for the development environment. So if you want to share your environment with somebody, to replicate how you're developing, it's common, right? When you're working on a team, certain configurations are needed just to make life easier. So, and you certainly don't want these dependencies deployed to production. So dev dependencies, so you can run them and install them for dev, but they will be ignored in the production mode, right? That's what that is. All right, so, and by the way, I just wanted to show this as well before we get into that. You can certainly, so I don't need to do npm install. I can do npm, let me use my newfound DOS command clear to clear my console. npm I instead of npm install. Maybe I want to install a bunch of packages. I want to install Lodash. I want to install, I already got Moment there. I want to install Uppercase. I can stack them, right? And Express. So I can do it all in one line. It'll go and grab all three modules and it'll install them all for me. It may take a little bit of time. I certainly don't have to do them, you know, I don't have to install them separately. That's going to go chug because that's probably a bit of work. I'll let that run. I won't bore you with that. We're almost there. We got, oh, we only got 8 minutes left. So I'm going to skip the video. All right. I'm going to skip the video. So yeah, I'll just send that in the thread or something. All right. Easy enough. Semantic versioning. So this is important as well. So Semver stands for semantic versioning. This is the website Semver. It's a way of specifying package versions with a 3-part version number. Has logical operators, some wildcarding to allow you to control which version of a package you want. So it's a way of controlling the version of the package you want, setting a minimum, basically setting a minimum or maximum, saying this is not backward compatible past this version, otherwise it's going to start breaking other things, right? So there's a way of putting a placeholder in place to prevent, because some developer might just say npm update all, and if you don't have these in place, he's just going to upload every single dependency in your whole application. It's going to break everything, right? So by putting these in place when he does an npm update, although there may be version 10.1 of Lodash, you're saying that no, we're only going to set the maximum version to Lodash version 9.2, therefore ignore that update. You're basically locking it down. So this is what the versioning looks like. So you can either look at this as like major, minor patch. I think that's the old way of thinking of this, or there's different ways of thinking of this, or breaking changes, feature changes, and fixed changes, right? So the breaking would be a major change. It's going to break a lot of things. The second value is a feature. So we're basically pushing some new shopping cart, multi-cart or something like that. Backwards compatible new feature. The one is when you're in bug fixing mode, you're fixing bugs, right? It's not going to break anything. You're just doing your whether they're release bugs, production bugs, or whatever, through patches. So you can see here, right? So this is a feature. Anything can happen. When we move to production, it's a major increase, right? 1.1. We have a bunch of bugs. 1.1, right? There was a bug there, patch we pushed up there. Maybe we have a feature coming involved. Maybe there's a new shopping cart, or there's a new, I don't know, wish list kind of thing. We have a bug there, we push that up. And then after a while, we have a brand new brand new release. We bump up the version to 2.0. That's kind of how it goes. So this, this is, I think, the second last slide here before I let you, I'm not going to do the video at the end. I'm going to let you guys go, but I'll focus on this slide here because this is important. And to be honest, I like asking exam questions on this because it's hard. Just for anybody who's still here, just note that there will be a couple questions on this. All right, so yes, it's confusing. I have to read it as well too, right? The caret and the tilde. So the caret, you'll see that caret 3.9.2 means any version that's a 3 gonna allow. So backward compatibility, new functionality, old functionality, deprecated. So backward compatibility, large internal bug fixes. So it's allowing everything but the bump up of the major, right? It's basically allowing that. The tilde is more of a bug fix. So it's basically saying that the only thing that's going to be changing is that bug fix there. So it's confusing, to be honest. I'm gonna have to get more examples because this always catches everybody up. But these are called range specifiers. So if we look at this caret here, we're basically putting a caret on here. We're saying that this column is not changing. So 2 will be the main version all the way through. It's not going to allow a bump up. It's not going to allow the bump up to 3. This column may change. That's the features, and all the bug fixes may change, but we're not going to allow it with that caret to bump up to 3.0. So what that's saying is, for Lodash, we're not going to allow it to go to 10. It's going to be 9, and it can be version 9 any iteration of version 9, right, or lower. So it can be version 8, 7, 6, but it's not going to be able to go to version 10. That's what the caret does. The tilde just basically, okay, if we look at this graphic, it explains it to me more than this, because this is, that's words here, but this is very good graphic. So the tilde is saying we're only allowing patches to happen. So this is not allowed to change, this column, and this column is not allowed to change, right? It needs to stay 2. It needs to stay this feature. It's not going to be able to bump up to 2.2.0. However, any patches along the way can be made. So we could go all the way up to like 2.1 who knows, right? 2.1 13, 14, it'll allow that. So to be honest, this graphic here is much more explanatory than this, because when I start reading that, there's just a bunch of words there. This makes a lot more sense to me. Semver. So remember that. I will definitely ask that on an exam. All right, so that was our